We're now going to look at a very popular subject for photographers, and that's dodging and burning. As you can see here, I have a picture that I've taken of some tree roots, and I've done a little bit of work on it here just to get a monochromatic kind of a look for a mood. But notice it's very flat looking. It's lacking depth. It's lacking strong shadows and highlights. And generally speaking, that's why we would use the dodge and burn tools. You could grab the tools here, and the dodge tool would brighten things up just to lighten up the top, just to make it pop a little bit. And the burn tool does the exact opposite. It darkens things up a little bit. And as you can see, that would add a little bit of definition. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it a totally different way. The first thing we're going to do is revert the image back to how it was. And rather than using the standard dodge and burn tools, we're going to use another method. There's two disadvantages using dodge and burn. The tools themselves are destructive. That means that they alter the actual pixels on this image. So when I play around with this and I paint on here, the pixels become damaged, and at a later date I can't undo it. I'm stuck with it. Another problem is when you're working on a color image, it can tend to change the color and distort it a little bit. For instance, if you're working on a face, those areas can become a little bit too red. So what we're going to do is we're going to dodge and burn a little bit differently. We're going to create a new layer, and we're going to hold down the Option key when we hit the new layer icon. And now we're going to get this dialog box, new layer. What we're going to do is we're going to change the blending mode. First of all, we're going to do the burning. So we want the darker blending modes, and you can tell the darker ones because they begin with the word darken and top. And then we're going to choose multiply. When you click on that, you're offered this option, fill with multiply neutral color, which is white, which means that white is invisible in multiply mode. We're going to click yes and click OK, and now we have an absolutely new layer. What we're going to do is we're going to choose black as a foreground, grab our brush. We're going to be painting on this layer, remember. I'm going to move the palette out of the way. We're going to choose a nice brush here where opacity is affected by pressure, and we're going to drop the master opacity down. That's around 30, and then we're going to drop the master flow down a little bit to around about 70. The flow is how fast this comes out with the airbrush. If I turn the airbrush off, the brush just works like normal, but if I hit this, it becomes an airbrush, which means the longer I hold down the pen on the tablet, the more ink is going to flow and the more buildup I'm going to get. So we're going to drop it down a little bit so it doesn't flow quite so fast. And then we're just going to begin to just gently paint on these areas just to add a little bit of shadow drama. Just taking our time here, gently adding it on, slowly building it up. We want to put some shadow in this area here. There we go. Let's do the same here. Let's add a little bit of shadow in the front here. Even though this area is not bathed in shadow, we're going to add it. And just shadow up this area here. And notice as we begin to do this, it starts to separate this from the background. It adds dimension to our photo, adds drama and interest. Let's add a little bit just around that edge there. There we go. And now let's do the same here. Let's darken this up a little bit. Of course, there's many different ways you can dodge and burn, and I'll leave your own creativity up to that. So what we're doing right now is we're just burning this. We're darkening up those areas. And this used to be done in a dark room by hand, but now it's